Hey folks, David Stewart here. Morale. Morale is of critical importance if you are a creative person, a writer, a musician, an artist of various kinds. It's important for everyone, but I think it's of critical importance if you are trying to create some sort of new and interesting artistic product. So morale, what is morale? Morale really is the belief that what you are doing matters, that it is going to have an effect, that it's going to have an effect on the world, that it's going to change the outcomes of what is going on. Now, if you're a student of history, or particularly, I guess, military history, you often hear of this critical importance of morale. The morale of the troops is so important. Why is that? Well, especially if you're looking at pre-modern military conflicts where you have large groups of men, maniples of the legion fighting against various other elements. You have shield walls. It's really important that whoever is doing that fighting doesn't run away, because that's usually when the battle starts to turn. You are trying to avoid a rout, which is where basically everybody starts to run away because they think they're going to lose. Why do they think they're going to lose? Well, their morale collapses. Morale is a big part of that. So if you have men in the shield wall, possibly risking their lives, maybe they're going to die, they're only going to do that if they feel like standing and holding their ground and doing their duty is going to have an effect on the battle, or is going to have an effect on the war, is going to have some sort of effect even if they die. So their home will be protected, their wife and children will be protected, the battle can be won. Even if I have to make a sacrifice here, then my fellows will be able to gain victory, and ultimately the good will arise out of the possibility of me dying. So maintaining that kind of morale in the face of death was critically important in pre-modern military fights, and it's probably also important in modern military fights, but I think modern military conflicts are quite a bit different in that regard, where you're not, have groups of pikemen running up against each other and stabbing each other to death, where you have the opportunity to run away. So that's kind of what happens with routs, is like, the shield wall starts to collapse and you see people not able to hold the line anymore, and you go, I don't think we're going to make it. I don't think this is going to be a victorious situation. So you start to run, and if you see other people running, well, you got to get in the stampede and run away. Standing and dying by yourself is not going to do anything, and that's how the rout really begins. So maintaining that morale in a battle situation is critical. In a creative situation, it is also really critical. You have to believe that whatever you're working on, whatever you're doing matters. That somebody at the end of the project is going to like what you're doing. Somebody is going to want to buy your book, or somebody's going to want to look at your art. It's going to have some sort of positive impact on the world. You're going to move culture in the appropriate direction. You're going to move the art in some sort of new and appropriate direction. You're going to do something that matters. And this is really, really important for creatives, because we're not usually, in most cases, obviously there's exceptions. If you're working a corporate art job, which those exist, you're working on a project for weeks, months, sometimes years, without receiving any kind of reward, psychic or otherwise, in most cases. So if you're writing a book, you have to sit down and write that book for weeks, months, maybe years, depending on how long the book is and how much time you have to work on it and how new you are to writing. And in all that time, you're not selling the book. You're not getting a financial reward for it, and you're not getting any kind of psychic reward, like people saying they like the book, or people believing that the book is changing culture or something like that. So having morale while you're in the creative process is really, really important. It's really important that you feel like every time you sit down to write, or anytime you get your paintbrush out to paint, or whatever it is, that whatever you're creating matters. It matters to somebody. When I finish with this, it will be good enough that it will matter to somebody else. And I'm going to interject a little white pill, which is that you don't have to be a good writer to be a successful writer. You never know, even if you have low confidence in your ability to write prose, let's say, you never know. Your book could be the next Twilight. Twilight did not have particularly good prose. It wasn't well written according to a lot of the rules that writing coaches and stuff will come up with, like not using adverbs or something like that. So don't worry so much about that. You have to have confidence that when you reach the end of what you're doing, it's going to matter. Somebody out there is gonna want it. It's a product that somebody wants. It's a product that's gonna matter to somebody. I came up with this book. I don't know where it is right now. Keys to Prolific Creativity, that talks about a lot of this stuff. But morale is something that I kind of tangentially deal with in the book. So I wanted to make a video specifically talking about it. So how do you encourage your morale? Well, you can do it through self-talk. What I'm doing matters. Somebody will like it at the end of the day. You can also do it by just reinforcing the reality of what you're doing. Okay, I know that people want this kind of book. I see that they want this kind of book. I'm creating that kind of book, and it's going to be successful because of that, or because of, this is the true expression of my soul, and it really matters to me that I finish it. I will feel good when I finish it. Even if you have an audience of one, like my wife really wants to read this book when it's done, then that will encourage you to finish the product, to get all of the things done, to actually make it exist and make it happen. Morale is not just important really for creative people, but really for all people, regardless of what you're doing. You want to feel like what you're doing matters. If I'm taking the time to teach my children, to school them or whatever it is, that it's going to improve their life, that they're going to be better as a result of it, that everything you're doing is going to have some sort of impact. It's going to matter in some way. Your walk with faith, what you're doing with your religion matters to you. It's going to matter beyond your life. All of those things are critically important for you to continue engaging in the necessary activities we need to move forward and to accomplish our goals and to better ourselves. Every time you go into the gym, you need to feel like, I'm getting better, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting faster, I'm getting leaner. There's something that's improving. I'm moving closer towards an ideal every time that you go and do it. The problem with being a creative is that you often don't have little steps of reinforcement along the way. If you're trying to write a book, it's pretty rare that you're going to look at the book and be able to know and see your progress and see what you've done. Whereas if you go to the gym over months, you start to see your progress. You start to feel your progress. Those things are constantly reinforcing. If you're working a standard job and you really work hard, your boss compliments you on what you've done, or you get a promotion or you get a bonus, those little rewards are much less frequent when you are dealing with when you're out in the creative spaces, because the time to completion is longer and you also have to wait much longer for the reward. Even when you finish your book, right? You may finish your book, you may publish it, you may not make any money for it for a long time. I didn't make a lot of money on my first book, and people were like blown away when I made this video that's like I made $100 on my first book in like the first year. Well, it was the first book I ever did. Now I've made a lot more on that book since then, because the amount of money it makes starts to build over time, and you're selling copies over time. Before you know it, you've made a bunch of money on the book, and it's worth it. And I said, I know that this is an investment. I know that it takes time to recoup that, but it can be kind of crushing. A lot of people have this false belief that okay, I'm going to write this book and I'm going to come out and I'm going to make money. And then they do it and then nobody buys it because the business doesn't work that way. And then you have a collapse of morale. What was I doing? It didn't matter. It's hard. It's hard to maintain that morale for, in a lot of cases, years, as you put out multiple books, knowing that you're building up a brand, you're doing something that is going to make a difference in the long term, that's going to be worth doing somewhere in the future. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. That's the importance of morale. I think it's important for everyone, and really in every facet that you might have. If you're a manager, you're often thinking about employee morale, which is basically what I said. It's employees feeling like what they're doing will make a difference. Like it will improve the company, they will get a reward for it, it will improve whatever is going on in their life, that there's a reason for them to actually put effort into their job. But it's really important if you're all on your own and you have no one else to give you bonuses and to tell you good job and things like that. And in some cases, there's other ways you can find some of those psychic rewards. If you publish your book serially and you can actually get somebody to read it and say, I'm enjoying the story, but that's going to have a really good positive impact on what you're doing. You're going to feel very good about what you're doing. Same thing as if you're recording an album as a musician, you can put out samples and maybe somebody that will hear it and be like, I really like this. I think this is really cool. That's a big reinforcement that lets you know, oh, what I'm doing is having a positive impact. It's like you're in the shield wall and you see someone else like making progress. You see the other side start to rout. Wow, that's going to give you confidence to pursue and to fight harder and to gain victory over the barriers in your life. So anyway, thanks so much, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Have a great day.